Darrington has a very rough reputation. Staff assaults was a common occurrence. The uses of force was a daily operation.
In Angola, they were stabbing one another and used a lock in the side, just very violent people. They didn't care about each other, every man for himself.
For a long time, there was a view in professional circles and corrections that inmates could not change. No use rehabilitating them. We tried that, it didn't work, and so we're not gonna try to rehabilitate, we're just gonna lock them up, pretty much. So nowadays, the idea of rehabilitation has come back into people's awareness, particularly through the prison seminary program.
Seminary changed it because these men became moral. We saw the culture change, but the real change agent was a seminary.
Moral rehabilitation is bringing inmates, in this case, to a place of moral life, moral awareness, moral practice, and moral stability in their lives. And so, if you're a moral person, you're going to be helpful, not harmful to your neighbor.
They told us about the program, and a lot of us were like really skeptical. We're like, what is this? You know, having inmates that were kind of able to go around and talk to other inmates made us all a bit nervous. But it ended up being a pretty good program, I think. A lot of us have adapted to it. It's helped out a lot.
It has changed attitudes in a positive way, because a lot of times one of the biggest things that can help an officer is, like, when you have a additional tool on your belt. And a seminary inmate is, I believe, is an additional tool on your belt, because the seminary program provides a second ear for the inmates, for them to listen to. Somebody to listen to them, somebody to allow them to vent their frustrations and then give them positive reinforcement.
So we began to notice in our facility that the officers and the prisoners were getting along in such a way as not just to get through the day, not just to achieve certain tasks that they all had at hand, but they were really building friendships. Building relationship, building moral and spiritual relationships changes everything. And we saw that happen.
A lot of officers, over time, they see a change in the prisoners, they see a change in the culture. The us versus them mentality is not so pronounced. And it's a blessing for them not to have to go break up fights all the time.
We see a new breed of people in corrections now that are not traditional, that are really seeking new ways to incarcerate people, that are progressive, and we teach them to correct their deviant behavior.
Once they saw that the unit administration was on board with this, it filtered down the ranks. And as we've grown with the seminary on the unit has grown to understanding what we do with the field ministers.
The big picture concept for best practice for a seminary to be established in a state prison is to clearly be separating the role of the seminary from the role of the departments of correction. Make sure the departments of correction are doing what they do, that is to say the public function of running the prison, and make sure the seminaries remain in their lane, running a seminary, running a faith-based prison program and an education curriculum.
I want you to take your time, I want you to read the policy and understand it, and then take it from me that it does work. And once they see it firsthand, and to see how smooth it is to transition, that doubt and skepticism would go away.
In prison, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And these men are men of God, and they were doing something different. And being a part of something that was much greater than just me or them, was an amazing experience. I'll never forget it.
The seminary helped us to learn how to be accountable. We have to accept the consequences of our actions, not just as Christians, but as men. And it's one thing we teach these brothers here is that we have to accept the consequences of our actions.
The prison administrators are allowing our students to have access to other communities and groups of prisoners within the prison, and they realized that this was having a positive effect on other populations in the prison.
I noticed that guys who I had known 15, 20 years already in the system, who I thought were impossible to reach, were coming and saying, hey, what's that about? How can I get in there?
These inmate pastors diffuses a lot of fights and a lot of problems you have, because he can come between them. And that encourages him. He realizes he's making a difference, but consequently it equals a safer prison with less violence.
If we truly want to be leaders for the world out there, true leaders for these men in here, leaders for our families, we have to take that stance with it.
You want success, you want lower recidivism, lower drug use, lower violence, greater education. You want men getting out of here with some type of future. plans instead of no hope, it's the best decision you could ever make.